The thing about betrayal is, it never knocks. It just walks in, kicks your life in the teeth, and makes itself comfortable on your couch. I came home from work early that day. No reason in particular. Just one of those rare afternoons where the job wrapped up ahead of schedule and I figured, hey, maybe I'd surprise Jess with lunch. Picked up that Thai place she liked, pad cew with extra egg, no carrots. Still warm in the bag when I pulled into the driveway. I should have known something was off right there. Her car was in the garage, but the house was too quiet. No TV, no music, no hum of her fussing around in the kitchen like she usually did when she worked from home. Just this heavy silence, like the house was holding its breath. I opened the front door and froze. Her heels were by the stairs, those red ones she hadn't worn in years. Not since that Christmas party where she drank too much Merlot and told everyone I didn't believe in horoscopes. That was years ago. They'd been collecting dust since. But there they were, polished, like they'd been waiting for this day. I called her name. Nothing. Took a step inside. That's when I heard it. A laugh. Low. Male. I don't remember much about how I got up the stairs, only that I left the food bag on the hallway table. That damn food, still warm. I pushed our bedroom door open, and there they were. She was on her knees by the bed, adjusting her dress. The same red one from our 10th anniversary. The one I used to think was just for me. He was behind her, shirt unbuttoned, belt loose, smirking at me like I'd walked in late to a party he was hosting in my own damn house. Hey, man, he said. Like we were gonna dap up and talk football. I didn't say a word. My eyes locked on Jess. She stood, brushing her hair behind her ears, like she was embarrassed, but not ashamed. There's a difference. David, she said, too calmly. I didn't expect you home. I still hadn't moved. The guy stepped forward, reaching for his shirt like he thought modesty was gonna fix this. He looked young, fit. One of those gym rat real estate types with too much gel and not enough respect. Jess sighed. This is Daniel. Daniel. Of course his name was Daniel. I looked at her, and I swear, I didn't feel sad. I felt stupid. How long? I asked. She blinked, lips parting, searching for some version of the truth that wouldn't make her look worse than she already did. That's when I noticed the folder on the nightstand. Open. My name on the top page. Legal-sized paper. What the hell is that? She glanced at it, too quick. Just some documents. Work stuff. Daniel looked nervous now. He moved toward it, but I was already there. Snatched it off the table. Flipped the first page. Power of attorney. Joint account transfers. A notarized document with both their signatures. They were planning something. Financial. Legal. Permanent. You were leaving me, I said flatly. You were leaving me broke. Just didn't respond. She just sat down on the edge of the bed, crossing her legs like she was waiting for a train. Daniel reached for my shoulder. Look, man, maybe you should... That was it. The touch flipped a switch I didn't know I had. Next thing I knew, he was on the ground, scrambling backward like a roach when the lights come on. I was on him. Fist swinging, knees driving, the kind of rage you can't buy in therapy. He screamed. She screamed louder. Something in my knuckles cracked. Could have been his nose. Might have been mine. I didn't care. He scrambled out the door, shirt half on, blood dripping, yelling something about calling the cops. Just chased after him, heels in hand, shouting his name like I was the monster. I just sat there, in the mess, breathing hard. The folder was still in my hand. Pages crumpled, but legible. That was the moment I knew this wasn't just an affair. It was a setup. I didn't leave the bedroom for a while. Just sat there in the wreckage, his blood on the carpet, the bed half made like it could pretend innocence, in that folder, sitting in my lap like a confession letter signed in ink and cowardice. I flipped through it again. Power of attorney. Withdrawal forms. Bank statements I hadn't seen before, from accounts I didn't know existed. Money moved in chunks, $5,000 here, $10,000 there, all marked consulting. Funny, I didn't remember just consulting with anyone except a divorce lawyer behind my back. The worst part? She'd planned to do it clean. Quiet. Take the house, the savings, maybe even the pension. The documents were months old. Signed. Stamped. This had been brewing while I was kissing her goodnight, grilling steaks, planning vacations we'd never take. I finally got up when my legs started cramping. The adrenaline had drained, and all I had left was sweat and disgust. I grabbed a trash bag and started cleaning. Not because I cared about the mess, but because I needed something to do with my hands. That's when I found it. Buried under the nightstand, crumpled like it was tossed in a hurry, a receipt. Not for groceries or gas. No, this was for a stay at the Hilton, out of state. 2 nights. Champagne service. Mr. and Mrs. Daniels. I guess they were already practicing for the honeymoon. I should have stopped there. But I couldn't. I went into her office. She always kept a second laptop tucked away in her desk drawer, said it was for consulting work. I powered it on, guessing her password on the 3rd try, our anniversary. The irony hit like a punch to the throat. Emails. Dozens of them. Daniel this, Daniel that. Flight confirmations. Hotel bookings. A shared Dropbox folder with photos I won't describe. Let's just say it was clear they didn't limit their betrayal to our bed. One email stuck out. Subject line. Final phase. I clicked it. Jess. Once it's done, make sure the transfer hits before Monday. I'll wire your half. Don't screw this up. David's slower than we thought, but if he catches on, it's over. D. I leaned back, trying not to vomit. This wasn't just cheating. This was theft. Fraud. Premeditated. And they were nearly done. The front door slammed. I heard heels clicking down the hallway. She was back. Alone. David, she called out, voice soft like she didn't just help plan a heist on my life. I didn't respond. Just stood there in her office, hand resting on the keyboard, her secrets glowing on the screen. She walked in a few seconds later, eyes tired, but not sorry. Makeup smudged. That red dress still holding on. You hit him hard, she said, arms folded. He might press charges. Let him, I said, calm as I could manage. I've got a counteroffer. I stepped aside. Let her see the email. Her face twitched. Just for a second. That crack in her armor. Then she scoffed. You broke into my files. You broke into our marriage. We stared at each other like strangers. Maybe we were. I want you out, I said. And I want a lawyer, she shot back, walking past me. Guess we both got dreams. She grabbed her purse, didn't pack a thing. Just walked out like she was going to lunch. I watched from the window as she got in her car, dialed someone, and laughed. Laughed. I should have broken the screen. Instead, I printed the emails, the receipts, the bank records. Put everything in a manila envelope. Labeled it with Daniel's name. Then I grabbed my keys. If they were going to burn down my life, they were going to watch me walk through the flames first. I didn't leave town with a plan. I left with a folder, a gas tank half full, and the kind of anger that makes a man sleep with his eyes open. The documents didn't give me much. A few hotel names, travel dates, and a burner number Daniel used to confirm bookings. But it was enough to start pulling threads. One thing about betrayal, they always leave fingerprints. Especially when they think you're too broken to look. The first stop was the Hilton, 2 hours out. I walked in wearing my wedding ring and the same boots I wore when I married Jess. The manager was some kid, maybe 23, slick hair and nervous eyes. I slid a 50 across the counter with the printout of the receipt. Looking for my wife's boyfriend, I said. He blinked. Excuse me. I think you heard me just fine. He hesitated, but the 50 stayed on the counter like a second heartbeat. He turned the screen toward me. Room 418. Booked under Daniel Reeves. Used the gym. Charged a steak dinner and 2 bottles of wine. Signed the room service slip D and J. I took a picture of that with my phone. Thanks, I said. Tell housekeeping they missed a spot. His blood's gonna be real hard to clean up. The kid didn't laugh. Smart kid. Next lead was a motel off I-95. Dingy place. Fluorescent lights buzzed like mosquitoes in heat. The woman at the desk was older, glasses chained to her neck, reading a crossword puzzle when I walked in. Looking for a guy who checked in a few weeks back, I said. Name's Daniel Reeves. Might have used another name. Tall, lean, looks like a guy who says, bro, unironically. She smirked. Room 6. Paid cash. Drove a silver Lexus with Georgia plates. Only stayed 1 night. You a cop? No, ma'am, I said. Just a husband. She nodded like she knew that kind of pain firsthand. Checked the diner across the lot. He kept flirting with the waitress. Girl with the blue hair. Name's Nikki. Nikki turned out to be more helpful than the cops ever were. Oh yeah, I remember him, she said, chewing gum and spinning a pin between her fingers. Tipped good. Too good. Told me he was headed down to the Keys. Said he had a new life waiting on the beach. She wrote down the town. Marathon. A string of islands too pretty for the garbage he dragged there. Why are you looking for him? She asked. He stole something, I said. Something that mattered. She looked me up and down, then leaned in close. Take this, she whispered, slipping me a sticky note. That's his new name. Told me it once when he thought I wasn't listening. Likes aliases. Real creative, huh? I looked down. Eli Drake. Marathon was 6 hours away, and I drove all night. Didn't stop for food. Didn't even turn on the radio. Just white lines and headlights and my own thoughts clawing at the windshield. When I pulled into the island the next morning, it felt wrong. Sun too bright. Breeze too soft. Like nothing bad had ever happened here. But I knew better. Took 2 days. I hit every bar, every marina, showed the photo I printed from that hotel email. Some recognized him. A few didn't. But on the third night, a bartender with sleeves of tattoos and eyes like he'd seen things pointed toward a rented beach house just off the water. He stays there. Rents it weekly. Has a girl come over. Blonde. Loud. Not your type. He smirked. I left a 20 on the bar and walked out. Didn't storm the place. Didn't break in. I waited. Sat across the street in my car with the engine off and heart running hot. Watched the porch light flicker on. Watched him step outside in swim trunks and flip-flops like he was some vacation poster. He didn't see me. He waved goodbye to a woman who didn't look like Jess. Laughed. Swigged beer. Walked down the beach like the world owed him nothing but sunsets and easy mornings. And that's when I knew. This wasn't about Jess anymore. It was about him. It was about everything he took and how easy he made it look. So I got out, walked across the sand, and when he turned and saw me, eyes wide, feet frozen, I smiled. Daniel, right? I said. Or is it Eli now? He didn't answer. Didn't need to. The first punch landed like thunder. The first hit knocked the smirk off his face, but it didn't knock him down. Not yet. Daniel, Eli, whatever he was calling himself now, stumbled backward onto the sand, holding his jaw like he couldn't believe I'd actually done it. Like I was supposed to just scream and cry and go home empty like a good little husband. Not this time. He tried to talk. Probably wanted to explain, or beg, or lie. But I didn't let him. My fist met his cheek again, and this time I felt something crack. Bone. Tooth. Ego. Didn't matter. He went down hard. Face first into the sand. I didn't stop. I knelt over him, grabbing the collar of his shirt and yanking him up just to drive my knee into his gut. He gasped like a fish out of water. Tried to crawl. I slammed his hand into the sand and twisted his wrist until he howled. You think you can take my wife? I growled, leaning into him. My money? My life. Please, he whimpered, barely spitting the word past a mouthful of blood and broken teeth. I hit him again, and again, until my arms ached and my knuckles throbbed and his body lay twisted like a rag doll someone threw out. His shorts were soaked in blood and spit and maybe a little cowardice. I stood up, chest heaving, hands dripping. People had gathered. Neighbors. Tourists. One lady in a pink robe holding a martini like it was movie night. No one moved. No one stopped me. Not until the sirens came. The cops showed up fast. Local guys. Laid back, but not stupid. Guns drawn. Voices raised. Step away from the man, sir. Hands where we can see them. I didn't resist. I'd made my point. They cuffed me in the surf while Daniel moaned like a wounded animal behind us. One officer looked at my hands and muttered, "Damn." I just stared out at the ocean. Didn't say a word. Not when they read me my rights. Not when they tossed me in the back of the cruiser. Not even when they asked me, "You got anything to say about what happened?" Yeah, I had plenty. But none of it would change a thing. Back at the station, they booked me. Took photos. Bagged the envelope I brought with me, every piece of paper that proved this wasn't some jealous rage. It was war. And they started it. An officer looked through the files, eyebrows raising at each page. Your wife and this guy, he said, thumbing through the bank transfers. They set you up. I nodded. And you hunted him down? Not for revenge, I said. He gave me a look. All right, maybe a little revenge. He didn't smile, but he didn't press it either. A day later, Jessica came down. She didn't visit me. She visited Daniel. Rolled in wearing sunglasses and a sundress like she was meeting him for lunch, not checking in on her battered boyfriend in a Florida jail cell. A reporter caught her outside the station. Asked if she had any comment. She just said, "He's unwell. He needs help." Didn't say who. Didn't say which he. I watched it from the small TV in the holding cell. They played the clip 3 times. She looked calm. Too calm. Like none of this surprised her. Probably didn't. Daniel was released from the hospital that night. Limping. Face wrapped. His jaw wired shut. The officer who processed him said he didn't press charges yet. Still thinking it over, he smirked. Guess he knows he had it coming. I didn't ask for a lawyer. Didn't try to argue. I told them everything when they asked. Calm, clear, like a man who'd finally slept after 6 months of nightmares. Back home, Jessica cleaned out the joint account 2 hours after I got arrested. Booked a trip for 2 to Cabo. First class. She didn't even wait to see if I'd get out. Didn't care if I rotted in a cell. As far as she was concerned, this was cleanup. I was the mess. But she underestimated one thing. My boys. I showed up to court in a beige jumpsuit and shackles that clicked louder than the cameras. They sat me on the defendant's side like I was some monster dragged out of a cave. No suit. No family behind me. Just the court-appointed lawyer and the ghosts of every mistake I made by trusting Jessica too long. She came in like a movie star. Hair done. Designer dress. Big black sunglasses like she was grieving someone instead of vacationing with him. Daniel wasn't with her. His jaw was still wired shut, and word was he didn't want to inflame things. Translation: he didn't want to sit across from the man who cracked his face like drywall. Didn't matter. Jessica put on enough drama for the both of them. The DA tried to paint me like a threat to society. A loose cannon who hunted a man across state lines and beat him half to death out of jealousy. They weren't wrong, but they weren't all right, either. When it was our turn, my lawyer slid the manila folder across the table. Exhibit A, emails. Transfers. The whole con. He showed the judge how they emptied our savings. How Daniel opened accounts using aliases. How Jessica signed documents giving him access to things we built for decades. And then I stood up. Didn't raise my voice. Didn't cry. I told the judge everything. How I came home early. How I found them. How the betrayal wasn't just physical. It was financial, emotional, tactical. They weren't in love. They were in business. And I was the asset they liquidated. The judge listened. Stoic. The gallery was full. Small town court, nothing better to do. Jessica dabbed fake tears when my lawyer mentioned the trip to Cabo. Called it a mental health break. Said she needed space from all the trauma. Trauma. I muttered. I should have let Daniel finish the check-in paperwork with a pen jammed through his hand. My lawyer elbowed me. The verdict came down hard, but fair. Assault with intent. 6 years. Eligible for parole in 3. No plea deals. No bargaining. Just cold justice handed out by a tired man in a black robe. I nodded when I heard it, like a man who finally saw the bill for his own rage. I'd pay it. No complaints. Some debts are worth it. Jessica didn't look at me when she walked out. But my boys did. Ethan and Caleb. They came that last day. Sat in the back, quiet. Grown men now. Faces like mine, only smarter. Sharper. They looked at their mother like she was someone they used to know. She tried to hug them in the parking lot after court. They turned their backs. She froze, hand hanging in the air like she was reaching for something that had already moved on. Back in the holding cell, one of the guards slid me a letter. It was from Caleb. Dad, you didn't lose us. We saw everything. Keep your head up. We'll be here when you get out. I folded it up and kept it in my shoe. Some things are too valuable to leave in plain sight. Jessica went quiet for a while. No press. No interviews. Maybe Cabo wasn't all mojitos and yoga pants after all. Word got around that Daniel filed for separation. Said he couldn't be with someone who invited violence into their lives. He moved back to Georgia, probably sipping soup through a straw and dodging mirrors. Jessica kept the house. Sold it a month later. Guess it held too many ghosts. They say justice is blind. But that day in court, I think it blinked in my direction. Because for the first time since it all started, I didn't feel like the victim. I felt like a man who finally told the truth out loud. Prison's a funny place. Not haha funny. More like, ain't this a hell of a twist funny. You've got time, too much of it. And all that silence starts poking around places you'd rather not visit. At first, I kept to myself. Didn't talk much. Ate slow. Slept with one eye open. The other eye stayed glued to the ceiling, counting pipes, cracks, regrets. But you learn the rhythm eventually. The routine. You find things to hold on to. Me? I held on to writing. Started with letters to Ethan and Caleb. Nothing sappy. Just real talk. I told them about my day. What I was thinking. How proud I was of the men they were becoming. I didn't ask for pity, just understanding. And they wrote back. Every week. Sometimes short notes. Sometimes full pages. But they wrote. The guys in here, most of them stopped hearing from their people long ago. Wives gone. Moms passed. Kids turned bitter. Me? My boys stuck around. They even showed up to visit a few times. Caleb brought a photo, one of me and the two of them, fishing off the dock back home. Said he kept it in his wallet. I stared at it so long that the guard had to tap the glass. I remember this day, I said. Caleb nodded. Me too. You fell in with your shoes on. We laughed. First time I'd done that in months. And then there were the letters I didn't send. The ones I wrote to her. Jessica. Pages and pages I filled up, trying to make sense of who she used to be and who she became. Sometimes I wrote to her like she was the woman I married. Other times, I wrote to her like she was a stranger I just met at a bar. Those were the best ones, brutally honest, no soft edges. I never mailed them. Didn't need to. It wasn't about her anymore. It was about emptying the poison out. One day, a guard dropped a package on my bunk. No name, no return address, just tape and dust. Inside, my old wedding ring, wrapped in a note. Figured you'd want this back? I'm keeping the rest. J. No signature, no apology, no explanation. I stared at the ring for a long time, spun it around in my palm. Then I walked it straight to the toilet. Didn't flush it, just let it sit there a while, like a goodbye that didn't need words. Then I let it go. Time moves strange in here. Fast when you're numb, slow when you're feeling too much. I carved notches into my bunk just to feel like I was moving forward. And in between it all, I kept writing. Not just letters, whole journals. Pages about love, betrayal, fatherhood, mistakes. The guard who checked my stuff once said, "You're writing a book?" Nah, I said. I'm writing a grave. For who? My past. Funny thing is, peace doesn't come in big moments. It's not a gavel bang or a breakthrough or some dramatic apology that fixes everything. It's small. It's quiet. It's when you sit on the edge of your bunk, flip through a letter from your son, and realize your heart doesn't hurt the same way anymore. It's when you stop checking the clock. It's when you stop hearing her name in your head when you close your eyes. It's when you feel something close to peace, even if the walls haven't moved. They say when a man's got nothing left to prove, that's when he finally starts telling the truth. So here it is. Not the cleaned up version. Not the kind you tell a therapist or a parole board. Just the truth, like blood on a white shirt. Can't hide it, can't wash it out. I'm writing this from a concrete room that smells like bleach and bad choices. I've got 5 years behind me and maybe another 1 or 2 to go, depending on whether the system decides I've suffered enough. I don't really care. Because the worst part of my sentence wasn't the time. It wasn't the food, the noise, or the cage. It was the years before this, when I was free on paper but chained to a lie. Every day in here, every scar on my hands, every night I sleep with one eye open. It's all easier than sleeping next to someone who smiled at you in the morning and stabbed you by sunset. I'd take 10 more years if it meant I never had to feel that again. Jessica never sent another letter. Good. I don't need her to finish the story. I already know how it ends. She spent that first year floating around resorts with Daniel, pretending he wasn't just the next phase of her grift. She smiled for cameras, posted quotes about healing, maybe even convinced herself she was the victim in all this. Then, like all cheap con jobs, it fell apart. Daniel left. Rumor has it he cleaned out her personal account on his way out the door. Poetic. She lives alone now. Still uses her maiden name. Still plays innocent when anyone brings me up. Let her. The truth doesn't need her signature. My boys. They're the only part of this story I care about anymore.